What's going on, everybody out there on the internet? My name is Ace, and in today's episode, as you can probably guess, we're going to just be kind of sharing my thoughts about Minecraft Live. It's literally just happened. If I go ahead and switch my monitor, you can see, like, dude, the thing just happened. It ended about 8 minutes ago, so here we are. I'm going to watch it again and share my thoughts. So let's get right into it. Going into Minecraft Live this year, I honestly had no idea what to expect because they had just announced that they're changing their entire format. So are they going to announce 1.22? Are they going to announce 1.21.40.31? Like, what is coming next? I truly had no ideas, but I was ready for it. And I tried to approach it with just a completely open mind. So without further ado, let's hop right in. Right, yeah, okay, so it started off in the same fashion that it pretty much always does, and that is, you know, someone kind of talking to us, showing clips from the community about 15 minutes before the main show, trying to generate hype, and, you know, it's pretty cool. I'd say it was all the same. I'm glad this is something that stuck around. They then went on, of course, to talk about their most recent update, which I have to say was probably one of their best yet, maybe even since the Nether update, and then recap what I've already talked about with them planning on changing the frequency of their updates, which is of course going to set up everything we need to know going forward. So my question for you really is, when you first heard this update or this change that they're going to be doing smaller updates more frequently, what were your thoughts? Because personally, I had no idea what to feel. And then without further pedantics, they went right into announcing what the new updates would look like.
As Jens mentioned, we in the core game team are working on drops, and today we are excited to show you two of them that we have been working on, and both of them will release within the next few months. Before that, we would love to start with our next drop. It's a combination of two things many of you have been wishing for. It's hardcore mode in Bedrock and bundles, and we call it Bundles of Bravery.
So as a Bedrock player, I gotta say, well, personally, I'm a little baby and I play in peaceful mode, so like I don't really care too much about hardcore mode, but it is amazing. I love to see steps closer, to get Java and Bedrock Edition closer together. And personally, I gotta say, as a Bedrock player, I don't think that should always be changing Bedrock to match Java. I think there are plenty of things in Bedrock that should stick around, that are fantastic. I think I might start a new series where I load into a hardcore world and just see how far we get, because I'm not expecting to get very far ever at all, and it might be kind of fun. Okay, moving right on to bundles, which took forever they announced these things 4 years ago, I want to say, in 2020's Minecraft Live. So yeah, it's about freaking time that they got added to the game.
When we first came up with the idea for the bundle, we wanted to make sure it was actually going to be useful. So we watched a whole lot of streams of players playing survival Minecraft.
Now this right here is actually phenomenal. Phenomenal, and a master class in how to make a game. I'm gonna let him finish what he's explaining right here, and I think you'll see what I'm talking about.
We waited until they opened their inventory, and then we took a screenshot. Then we went through all these screenshots, and we said, what could this player do if they had a bundle? What we found is that most people would be able to free up 8 inventory slots or more.
Did you hear that? Think about that again, okay? You know what? Let's get personal about this real quick too. Think about that again. Some game developers say we want a community from the feedback, to hear feedback from the community. We want to see, you know, what the community wants. Some game developers actually do try to get feedback from the community, but you gotta remember, even when you have the best community that's giving you feedback and you can really build a personal relationship, there's still gonna be a bridge there and a disconnect, and you're never gonna be able to reach all the players. What they have done here is gone out to the community. You know, instead of having the community come to them, they've gone to the community and gathered information firsthand and then implemented stuff based on that. So however you feel about the bundles, whether it's enough, whether it's not enough, personally, I think it's a little lackluster. Not in the way it functions itself, but just in terms of storage and inventory management. I think it will do a good amount towards inventory management, but towards the storage problem as a whole in sorting all of these millions of items and whatnot, it doesn't even begin to tackle that. And people aren't wrong about that. But this is just a masterclass in how to not wait for the community to give you feedback, but to go out and actively get that information yourself. Any game development company could do this. People make videos on almost every video game that exists. But how many people actually do it? Okay. This part right here, not here, right here. It's just phenomenal. Absolutely amazing. We call back. They're bringing in community content. What a great way to tease what's about to come up next. Now this little clip right here is probably, until they actually reveal what they're talking about here, is it's just absolutely phenomenal. It's great. More of this, Mo Yang. Great job. And it's so amazing. In fact, I figured I'd include some of the subtitles as I make a little transition here for what we're about to talk about next, because that's exactly what this is anyways, is an amazing transition to try and hint at what's to come, keep you engaged, but not get right into it. It's a great way to just drip you and feed you information to keep the viewer engaged, and it's hilarious. It's so clever. I absolutely love this little villager news bit. It might be my favorite part of the entire Minecraft live. It was absolutely fantastic. I can't say enough. But let's go right on to the next topic. Okay, so the Minecraft movie, more information about this. Once again, another thing that's been incredibly controversial. Let me give you my thoughts on the whole thing before watching this, just so that we're on the same page. When I first watched it, I was taken aback. I feel like the same way you probably were. I wasn't a fan of the live action. I'm still not a huge fan of the live action. I feel like the animation style, let's go back just a few seconds and take another look at that villager news clip. Look at this animation style. Looks super Minecrafty. And I think we can still get a Minecraft movie or perhaps even TV show in this style somewhere down the line. And personally, I think I would be a huge fan. I would kind of like a TV show, like especially if they lean into the humor of this clip right here, the villager news clip right here. Oh, I think it would be fantastic. And I gotta say, I had to turn comments off right about this point in the stream because a lot of people were saying the same thing, and they were saying it a little bit less eloquently, and they were saying more like, rip, movie bad, blah, 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 blah. And I gotta say, if you're one of those people, all right, editing Ace here, and I have to say that watching this, I myself did not quite explain myself so eloquently, so I'm gonna come in here and try and explain it a little bit better. If you're one of those people, I completely understand, and you're valid for feeling that way. I get it. But if you choose to express yourself in this manner, in a disrespectful and impatient way, almost demanding change, no one's going to listen to you because it doesn't seem like you're ready to listen to them. And no one's going to respect you because it doesn't seem like you're respecting them. So if you can take yourself back just a little bit for a few seconds, really think about how you feel and how you think about the movie, and express yourself as clearly as possible in a respectful and polite manner, people will listen. And maybe, just maybe, you'll feel a little bit more heard than you do right now, and it will make you feel better in the long run. Just something to think about. It's something I've thought about a lot and something that's really helped me in my personal life. The way they explain it and the way they talk about the Minecraft movie, I probably will cut most of it out because it's not what I was here for anyways. But the way they talk about it actually made me have like a newfound interest and newfound love for the trailer they put out. And there's actually one clip I do want to show. But they talked about the fact that they did debate on what format they should release the movie in, whether it should be live action, and they ended up landing in live action because it's never been done before. We have never seen people, real life people, be put into the world of Minecraft, especially not at this scale. So they wanted to see what it was like, and I don't mind experimenting. Experimenting is almost always a good thing as long as they don't take it too far. I don't think they have taken it too far. Let's jump forward a little bit, and hopefully I can show you some clips that, even if you're not a huge fan, even if you don't think that a live action is the best way to do it, like me personally, I still think an animated movie would be a little bit more entertaining, would be a little bit better, and you'd have more options open to you. But I don't think the live action one is going to be bad. And let's jump forward a little bit, and hopefully you'll understand why. See, it's this scene right here. I absolutely love this.
This is a crafting table. Here's how it works. You place these elements in different patterns, and you got yourself a sweet blade. You want to see a blade? I'll show you a blade. Yeah! Hammer. That's okay, bud. Buckets are useful here.
I mean, that was great. Okay, you can't tell me you don't watch that and be like, oh, I want to see this movie. Like, this seems like the dynamics and the interaction, it's just gonna be great. Seeing the way they bring Minecraft to life in that way. Like, of course, you know, in the game, it's a game, so I can't just put random things on the crafting table, smack it with a hammer, and create something new. Like, it doesn't work that way. But when you put it into a movie and live action, it can work that way. You get this extra bit of whimsy, and it gives me new hope for the entire movie. I never thought the movie was going to be terrible or bad just by watching the trailer, but I thought I might not like it and it might not be for me. But this really does make me have lots of hope for it. I don't necessarily think it is definitely going to be the greatest movie of all time. I don't think anything like that. But I'm a big fan of things like the Lego movie, and even more the Lego Batman movie, because I am a huge Batman fan. And in the opening scene, Lego Batman movie, it's kind of cheesy. The whole like fight song and everything, it is kind of cheesy. But if you can get past it, and even before that scene, it's good. Like, they got me hooked, and I was like, eh. And then after that, they blow it out of the water. And I understand that they're kind of setting the tone for the whole movie, and that it's going to be childish. And the Minecraft movie will probably be the same way. It's going to be childish, but if you're a fan of whimsy and creativity in Minecraft, I think it's going to be great. Okay, I will say, just while we're on the topic of the Minecraft movie, they never explain these two characters. They talk about Jack Black, obviously he's a big name, and he's playing Steve. And they talk about Jason Momoa's character, obviously he's a big name. And they talk about the boy who's apparently named Henry, and I suppose he is going to be the main character. So we can justify and explain why we've explained these three characters, and perhaps why we haven't explained these two characters. But it does kind of highlight an underlying problem of potential sexism. Now, I'm not going to get too far into this. I'm not going to make any other statements other than just pointing it out, because as you might have realized, I too am a man. And as a man, I can't really comment on sexism. I can be aware of it. I can try to be open-minded about it. But I'm not going to try to make any sort of claims or say we should do this or we should be doing this or it happened because of this. I'm just going to bring it up, float the idea, and let people know that it, you know, it's happened. Just in a micro way, at least in the way I view it. And these things like micro-sexism and micro-racism, they happen all the time in society, and let's just like let's notice when they happen, let's acknowledge them, and let's try to do better. But as far as how we can do that, I don't know. Let's talk about it. Moving on.
And now it's time to reveal our completely new drop, releasing in a few months. The team has been really excited about the idea of adding a new biome, and we created one with its own unique mood and identity.
So right here, obviously, you can see this new biome right here, and it just immediately stands out from all the biomes around it.
In the new Pale Garden.
The Pale Gardens. You can see here you've got this beautiful shade of kind of dark grayish wood, which is lovely because wood is gray. It's got hints of brown in it, but if you actually go to a color artist, a color theorist. You can have degrees in colorology. Look, I don't know if I'm using the right terminology, but it's a thing, and they will tell you that trees are gray. Just like these trees that you see right here. I'm also a huge fan of this moss, which immediately I identified as Spanish moss, and this is not actually what they give it name-wise in-game, but they did say it was heavily inspired by Spanish moss, so give myself a big point there. And as we keep looking, you'll notice lots of other things. First off, as you can see right here in the subtitles, here's an eerie mood, and if you look up in the sky a little bit, it's actually kind of grayed out while you're in the biome. Look at this sunset from inside the biome. Look at those dark colors. It's not rich like you're used to. And when darkness falls, there's some very, very cool new things in this biome.
There's something lurking in the shadows.
So everything about this biome feels unfamiliar, and this is by design. We want you to feel a bit curious and scared, like, what is this place?
Now let's talk about that real quick. They say, we want you to feel a bit scared, feels unfamiliar, what is this place? And then they announce it ahead of time. They release snapshots that we can play test ahead of time. And then they implement it in the game, and it no longer feels that way. Unless, of course, you haven't been following this stuff, and if you haven't been watching this video. So, I really would love to get back to, announce the big things, but tell us, hey, there's more here, but you're going to have to play to find out yourself. And I understand that you're going to have a really hard time keeping that out of snapshots, because the snapshots are designed for playtesting, so if you never get that playtest feedback, you could implement it and it could have huge problems. But it does kind of suck, doesn't it? That the first time for most of us that we actually get to experience it isn't when it's fully released. I don't know. Once again, I don't have any solutions, but it's something I noticed, it's something I felt. That right there is very interesting. Let's take another look at it real quick. So, first glance, it really does just look like a silhouette. It blends in so well with the trees behind it, in the moss on the ground, in the hanging moss in the air, except these eyes, which stand out like a sore thumb. As we get closer, it's got this weird asymmetrical body, which kind of makes it look even more like branches and limbs. And I'm almost kind of upset that we don't get to see anything like this in block form, but only entity form, because it would add like a lot more dimension to some builds. Now what they've done here, and I'll actually go ahead and back it up and let you watch.
There's a special new block that it has a connection to.
When you approach the creaking, you can actually realize that it doesn't take any damage, and when you try to hit it, it points you somewhere in the canopies. That's where basically the creaking heart is, and that's what controls the mob.
And that, combined with the fact that you can't actually kill it, but you hit it and it creates these particle effects. I love particles. Particles and sounds are just what create the ambiance of Minecraft that really immerses you in the game. And these particles are really cool. So the fact that you can't kill it is also really cool, because they show later in the video when they're playtesting that if you have a bunch of these nearby, you can get cornered quite easily. And they won't chase you when you look at them, but if you're cornered and they're already surrounding you, even if you're staring right at them, you can't really get out. You're stuck. What are you gonna do?
So when we made the creaking, we also wanted it to feel unfamiliar and different from other mobs.
And that they definitely did. I mean, it's different and it's unfamiliar. Like, what else can you do, man? But let's talk about the thing he said first, right? The fact that he wanted it to feel different from the rest of the world. And it really does, because with the exception of, like, maybe Ice Spike's biome, pretty much all of the other biomes in game are inspired by and very much feel like biomes in real life. And this does not. It really doesn't. And I think, at least for me, it takes it one step further than the Ice Spikes biome does. With the Ice Spikes biome, it's like, okay, I understand that real life biomes don't look like this. In real life icy areas and glaciers and whatever, that's not how they look. But this is a very cool way to make something like that, instead of just having a big ice biome where like the whole thing is ice and it's just a glacier. Although a glacier that spawns in an ice biome as a structure could be really cool. Kind of just a big version of what they've already done with the ice spikes. But this biome specifically doesn't have, I think it steps out of the bounds of what the real world feels like. And to me, that's what the overworld's always kind of tried to represent. So I have mixed feelings about it, but I don't think it's a problem. I think they can add things that will kind of explain that feeling and really just make this biome feel so freaking cool. But let's get through all the rest of the stuff that they say and the stuff, so I don't have to like repeat them, and then I'll share some of my ideas and my thoughts, not only on what this could mean for Minecraft, but what we could do with our mod, A.C.E.S MC Overhaul. If you haven't played it, download, link in the description, and some new features that might come to that based on the stuff we see in this video.
The creaking doesn't exist on its own. It's more of like a puppet of the new block, the creaking heart.
So the creaking heart and its creaking puppet really comes with a new combat challenge or combat mechanic, both in the way that you need to destroy the heart block to actually kill the creaking, and also of course that the creaking only moves when you look away. I really like the sandboxiness of the creaking heart. So if I use Silk Touch, you obtain it and then you can place it anywhere you want in the Minecraft world. So if you want to be as evil as the creaking heart itself, you can place it and make your friends really terrified.
To embrace the quietness of Minecraft, we added ambient sounds for this biome that only plays during the night. And to do that, you need to play with the silence and the contrast of the silence and the sounds. So to make creaking, I gathered a lot of creaky stuff that will make creaky sounds. Obviously, the biggest thing would be to gather wood and twigs and stuff like that.
This is another part that is just absolutely amazing that I've noticed from making my mod, is the sounds really just bring the entire world to life. So sound design is just so incredibly important. It goes right there with the particles, like I said earlier, and just really brings the entire thing to a whole new level.
I also recorded teeth. It sounds a bit like bones, maybe, when the mob is walking. So it's.
What do you mean by teeth? Oh, okay. With these gray tones, a very fitting new wood set was going to be a white colored wood set, and this is something
I actually jumped out of my seat at this moment. Look at this wood set. It's beautiful. It looks almost not identical. It's like the same color as the ghost wood from A.C.E.S MC, right? Like, and that is, excuse me, that is actually why I added ghost wood in the first place, because I wanted a white wood set. And I figured, let's lock it in the end, not the end, the nether, and make it a little bit tricky. But Mojang coming in clutch, just giving it to you right there in the overworld. This wood is gonna be a game changer. Oh my gosh, dude. Do you see it? Look at this. I know that this is going to get really annoying sometimes, but just be so freaking cool all the other times. Because there's going to be just occasionally when you don't want this to happen, or when you want a double tall, but you can only get a single tall. Like, what causes this double tall? I don't know, man. But either way, this is really, really cool.
We are super excited to see what you do with these new features and the new game drop.
We want to create connections between features because the Minecraft world is an ecosystem and we really want it to feel like that. And the creaking heart and its puppet creaking, it really has a new way of creating this kind of connection. So it's gonna be really fun to see you all experiencing it.
Alrighty. Well, speaking of what we do with the new features and new game drop, let's share a couple of thoughts. My first thought, aren't we getting a lot of different wood types at this point? I just made a big storage system, not online or anything, but just my little private bedrock world. And I thought I had the ability to store all the new wood, all the woods, and now I don't. Like, there's 9 different types of wood in the game. Now 10 with the pale wood. I love it, don't get me wrong. But can we get like some other materials to try and get colors? Because like they said themselves, a white wood. And that's great because wood is the only thing that can be made into fences. It's the only, except for nether brick fences for some reason, which is the only fence that is not wooden. Why? Doesn't make any sense. But can we get some other materials? Like why not? Why don't we have prismarine fences? Or better yet, since we already have nether brick fences, just make all the bricks into fences. You want that? It's an A.C.E.S overhaul. Go download the mod for yourself. I've already done it for you. But anyways, we have quartz brick fences in that mod, so we have white fences. Now, granted, quartz brick fence is pretty expensive and kind of locks you before you have to get into the nether before you can get that, but you know, it gives us more material types that are fences, right? So maybe we should be thinking in that respect instead of, hey, what woods can I add to create new color palettes so that people can create slabs and stairs and doors and trapdoors and fences in these colors? Maybe we should be thinking what materials could be doors, what materials could be trapdoors, so that we can have different doors, trapdoors, fences, boats in these colors instead of just adding woods. Not that I think the wood is a bad thing or that I think they should stop adding woods, but let's just, you know, mix it up, get a little bit different. Next thought I had is what I mentioned earlier about the Pale Heart and the Pale Gardens biome being unlike anything we've ever seen in the real world. So why? What's causing it? What makes the Pale Gardens pale? Because they're clearly modeled, at least to me, after a dark oak forest, but they're pale oaks. Pale oak, right? Pale oak wood. So what's happening? And where does this creaking heart come from? This is a new power, a new essence we've never seen in the game before. So here's my theory. Here's what I would want to see if you want my feedback. Let's add something that generates deep down in the earth, or maybe not so deep down in the earth, in this biome, and call it a creaking schism, maybe, right? And this schism spawns, and in it there's more creaking entities and tons of the creakers. I can't remember. You can't even remember what they're called. The creakings, right? That's what they're called, right? Tons of them, and maybe some other things like a creaking golem in there. There's big guys who walk slower, and they're still powered by their own creaking hearts that you have to go and destroy. But they can actually take damage and be disabled if you do enough damage, and they'll come back over time. Something like that kind of plays with that concept. And this creaking schism, at its core, the lore would be that it's actually sucking all of the saturation and color and light out of the biome, and this forest was a dark forest at one point. And then, now this is the part they don't have to explain, this is the part that is so great about Minecraft lore, is some creature, maybe the illagers, the pillagers, the villagers, who knows, right? Like at some point, came here and maybe the witches performed some sort of spell that caused this creaking schism to be formed. Who knows? This is the part they don't have to explain. This is the part that lets us, the player, imagine and imagine where this came from. But that is what's causing all of the effects we see in this biome. And now suddenly we have more things to explore. We have lore that piques the curiosity of the player, and we have things that actually explain the newness and the uniqueness and the eeriness of this biome. Personally, I think those are great ideas. I would also love to see a big structure in the biome. Like, we have the dark oak mansions, so what's the opposite of a mansion? Maybe like a hut. Maybe it doesn't have to be the opposite. Maybe we could have a pale oak mansion, right? That also has a chance to spawn in these biomes incredibly rarely. Or we have a pale hut or some small thing that's like the opposite of a dark oak. Excuse me. Gosh, I keep burping. The opposite of a dark oak mansion. Something like that. I think what we have here is the excellent, phenomenal foundations for something new we've never seen before, and we should build upon it. If they were still doing major game releases, we'd see this a year from now, first off, which would suck. But maybe that some of those things would get added before the major update. But now they have the ability to not pressure themselves to decide what they want to do and implement it before the update comes out, but instead receive tons and tons of feedback from the community, really pick something that feels good, and release it whenever they're ready. Something I'm all for, and in the meantime, I'm going to work on A.C.E.S MC as soon as I have access to all this new materials and try to implement the things I said as soon as I can, because I love those ideas. I absolutely love them. And the last thing that I really want to talk about for this biome, scratch that. I got 2 more things to talk about. First off, it's called the Pale Garden, but it looks like a forest to me. I don't see any garden. There's no flowers, and I understand flowers would create color, and bushes and plants and crops, they'd all create color and they'd take away from the eeriness. But would they? I'm not saying put wither roses in there, but think about the wither rose. The wither rose is not popping with color, it's a black flower. I think they could easily have put more vegetation, more flowers, more bushes into this biome and truly made it feel like a pale garden, a garden that has its life actively being sucked out of it in the way that the creaking seems to do almost, and so that it can be funneled into new life, right? And I think that would be great. Absolutely awesome. Maybe have some plants even that are creaking plants, right? Where the flora has been infused. It's flora? Is it fauna? Flora or fauna? I can't remember. But, you know, the plants, whichever one that is. I think it's flora. Flora, flowers. That sounds right. I think it's flora. Anyways, let's go with that. Have been infused with this creaking essence and will release spores when hit that match the creaking things and can possess whoever consumes the spores, and they are now another puppet of the creaking. I just came up with that on the spot. Literally, I've never thought of that before. And I'm not saying they should need to implement it, but these are the ideas that I think they should have in their heads going forward with this update, and the ideas I have in my head for A.C.E.S MC overhaul whenever I receive this update to start modding with it. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the fact that the creaking, the new mob, only comes out at night. They only come out at night, mean and hungry time. So, why go there at night? Like, if you want to avoid the creepiness, go there during the day, deforest the whole place, and now all of a sudden you just have a desaturated hunk of grass. Kind of gross, right? And I'm not saying we should prevent that if that's what you want to do. Like I said, I'm a little baby boy. I hate combat. I play in peaceful, so I probably will never see the creaking anyways, naturally. So people who want to do that, sure, go for it. I don't think we should be trying to prevent them. However, if you go there at night, maybe this structure that I've talked about earlier, the pale hut or the pale mansion or whatever you want to call it, can only be accessed at night. And there's a door that opens at night, or maybe you can only see it at night, or maybe it's underground and it has like an opening at the top, like something just barely that indicates it's there, and it disappears at night, and you can only fall through it at night. So just give us some reason to go there at night specifically. Otherwise, players like me are just never going to do it because they're scared. I have the same problem with the Deep Dark. I go to the Deep Dark biome and I play for just a little bit in easy mode, and as soon as that first warden spawns, and I just put it back to peaceful and I just run around because I'm a scaredy cat and I don't want to fight the warden. I don't want to mess with it. Okay, it's fun. It's fun to try, but as soon as I fail, I just give up. And I think that's fine. I don't think that's a problem for any of you guys that do the same. It's Minecraft. Play how you want. But I would love to be incentivized not to. I know they don't want the player to fight and kill the warden, but maybe the warden could be used for something other than just terrifying pranks. Maybe it actually has a use. If I can get a warden and summon it in and then trick it into using its sonic blast at a specific block, that'll charge that block up, and then I can mine it and then release it later as like a damage attack. I just came up with that on the spot. Maybe there's a brittle deep slate, right? And if they sonic blast the brittle deep slate, it just obliterates the whole thing, and that will clear out new areas around the city. Something that makes the warden useful. Really, they need to incentivize the player just a little bit more to experience these experiences that they've created. But with that, dear friends, all of our thoughts have been concluded. So what I really want to know at this point is, what do you think? Not only about all the stuff that Minecraft has announced, Mojang has announced, and are about to release, and the future of Minecraft, but about my thoughts, and about how I thought about Minecraft Live. All of it, I would love to hear in the comments down below. And until next time, have a great day.